Well, good afternoon and welcome to our Huntington Bank Live Chat. I'm Bob McElligott, joined by Blue Jacket Derek MacKenzie, as the Blue Jackets have basically their last day off here today before playing, 8 games, 12 days? More like a baseball schedule than a hockey schedule right now, Derek.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of games, and I think if we get the result we want, it's going to feel pretty good after playing that many games and that many nights. Richie kind of alluded to it today that it was probably our official last practice of the year, and that's always something nice to hear. So as much as we like putting on the skates, that kind of means we're getting down to business here. So we're looking forward to these next couple weeks.
Well, unlike in some years past, when you hear it's the last practice doesn't mean that it's necessarily the last practice. Obviously, your hope is that you continue to play, then the regular season ends, and then you have to do some real hard practicing, focusing on one team going into the postseason. So that part of it has got to be nice.
Yeah, I guess that's what I meant, and that's what he did say on the ice, was our last practice of the regular season. But it's certainly a different feeling in here from, obviously last year was a lot of uncertainty. We knew it was going to come right down to the wire, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that it doesn't literally come down to the last game again this year. But yeah, it'll be pretty exciting to have that season end and start gearing up for a particular team. Something that haven't been able to do here as a Blue Jacket yet, so it certainly would be nice.
And when you look at this compared to last year, you had the great run last year, but as you said, you wound up short. You lost the tiebreaker. You were always chasing last year. This year it's different. As of today, you're sitting in a spot. You control that spot. You control the tiebreakers with the teams that you're going head-to-head with for wildcard positions right now. So really, it does put the onus on the shoulders of your team.
Yeah, you try not to think too much about it and try not to, obviously this time of year, everyone's analyzing who's going to play who or trying to predict where things are going to land. And, that can be frustrating at times because it feels like, we've, other than a bit of a rocky start, played some pretty consistent hockey and gradually been getting better as the season goes on. And it's tough, some days in the last couple of weeks where you're on the outside looking in, how can that be? But that's how tough the league is, and that's how close things are coming down the stretch. And no one wants to stumble into the playoffs. I mean, I think that's you stumble in and you probably get punted 4 straight or something like that. So our objective here is not only to get in, but to be playing our best hockey come a couple weeks from now.
All right. Well, here's how this works. You ask the questions, I relay them to Derek, and then he gives the answers. So I don't want to ask you too much up front because I don't want to take away all the good stuff here. I don't want to take away anybody's ideas. So let's see. Let's go right to it. Emily's got the first question. It says, who is your favorite opponent and why? Favorite team you like to play against?
Oh, man. She's making me work right off the bat here. I think just from being in this organization for a while and watching the tides kind of turn, I think there was a time when, you'd play the Detroit Red Wings and you felt like you had to get lucky to win a game against them. And I think it's been, a testament to the guys in the room and certainly fun to be a part of, the evolution here where we've kind of become the team that beats them on most nights. And obviously a close rival of ours, and like I said, if you've been part of this organization for a while, you certainly got tired of losing to those guys. So nice that obviously we're in a playoff chase with those guys, and kind of to be able to have beat them this year a few times, it kind of makes it a little extra special.
The funny thing about that is too, when last year was talked about moving from the West to the East and not being in the same division as the Red Wings, I think there were some people going, oh, well, that kind of stinks. That's a nice rivalry. The Blue Jackets are starting to come on and challenge the Red Wings on a game-by-game basis now. And here we are, hindsight 2020. The way it's all worked out is you're still battling them for a playoff spot, and you did get them 3 times. And as you said, you beat them twice, both times here at home. So I think some of those fears that rivalry might lose a little bit of zest, the Detroit fans never saw it as a rivalry. I'll bet they do now.
Yeah, like I said, it was there were some must-wins for us. The guys came up big. I mean, we're certainly not naive to the fact that they've been missing some of their pretty big players, but nonetheless, the guys found a way to win. And again, hopefully, we look at some of those wins come game 82 and notice how big of those points were.
Yeah, they're without some of their guys, but some of those guys aren't going to play forever. none of them are going to play forever. So the guys that you beat the last 2 times, that's the future of the Red Wings anyway.
Yeah.
So might as well get off to a good start against them.
That's right.
All right, Devin wants to know, who was your favorite hockey player when you were growing up?
I had a couple. I loved hockey, and obviously being a guy from Ontario, Canada, it's hard to pass by guys like Wayne Gretzky, and then captains like Steve Yzerman. I mean, just based on their success, I think it was easy to jump on those bandwagons and really love to watch those guys play. But I think if I was to think about someone that maybe I can relate to, and I really can't because he scored a million more goals than I did, but seeing a guy like Doug Gilmour play for the Leafs and play for a couple of Canadian teams, a small guy who had a lot of the success that he did, I think it was nice to see someone that was generally my size be such an effective player and play with an edge and be a leader, and again, a guy from not too far from where I live, so certainly someone that I looked up to a lot.
At what point, and I don't know if you'll remember this, but at what age do you start to watch the game that way? Where do you go from just watching it as a fan of a team and hoping your team wins to going, you know what, that guy plays kind of neat and he's a little guy and maybe I should start to take some pointers just by watching here?
Yeah, I don't know. I think in a way you never do. I think as you grow up, it's a dream. It's pretty far away, and you think, maybe on the back outdoor rink or on the street, you think you're a little bit like them, but in reality, they're such exceptional players that you really don't ever really realistically compare yourself to them. I think the question tends to come up as you hit junior and things start to get a little more serious, and there's always an interview or something, and you have to sit back and start thinking, who do I really not look up to, but maybe aspire to play like, and so I'd say around the age of 14 or 15, you start having to come up with some answers for questions like that.
Well, I was wondering because I know your dad's heavily involved in, especially with the junior team there in Sudbury. So I remember when I was a kid, my dad would tell me, watch baseball games and watch this guy, watch that guy, try to pick up something here and there. So I didn't know if your dad ever kind of steered you toward the TV and said, now watch what he does on this shift and where he is.
Well, yeah, I could name you 10 guys that played in the NHL that I mean, there was years when I was the kid in the locker room filling up water bottles, and the guys kind of teasing me as the young guy, and I'd be running from one dressing room to the other during training camp. And so I mean, a lot of guys that went through there, guys like Mike Pekka, Glenn Murray, Paul DiPietro was a Stanley Cup champion. I mean, the list goes on. It's funny, Sean O'Donnell's another guy. I mean, guys that more recently in the last 5 years I've been able to kind of get out on the ice with, and they look across and they're like, hey, is that the guy that sat at the front of the bus and was just a little guy and brought our sticks across, little things like that, which I think gave me some great insight into how things work. And some of those guys I named are captains in the NHL and guys who lasted a long time, and certainly guys that set the bar pretty high up in Sudbury.
So I'm guessing that you have an appreciation for those stick boys that you run across both in the minor leagues and now here in the NHL. I would imagine I was going to say I imagine you wouldn't rib them as much as some other guys, but I don't know, maybe you would because you were that kid.
Well, you know what? I don't want to be a hypocrite here. I better tell the truth. I mean, the staff here is great, and I think I maybe go out of my way a little bit to pick on a guy like Timmy Leroy. I mean, we got a great relationship, and those guys, they know how much we appreciate them, and we realize that they have the worst hours in the NHL. I mean, they're the guys that are there before we get there, and they're the guys that are there long after we leave. And there's nights when we're landing and probably home, and they're just unpacking bags. So. First of all, I know how hard they work, but with that said, I think once in a while those guys need a little bit of a ribbing too. And Timmy got had his 1500th game about a month ago, and the guys had thought it would be a good opportunity for me to bring up a few funny stories about Timmy. He thought he was just getting off with a handshake and a plaque, but we took the opportunity. But those guys are great guys. All the medical staff, everyone here, they do such a great job that, and we use them so much that once in a while we got to bug them a little bit.
Yeah, that's par for the course. Howard wants to know, what will you personally do to get through the physical grind of playing 8 games in 12 days?
Well, I'd like to build some kind of dark cave and after every game just crawl into it. But you know what? I think from a mental standpoint, I'm not going to look past tomorrow night. I think certainly you can look at the schedule and be like, man, that's a lot of games. How am I going to do it? How am I going to get through it? Where am I going to find the energy? But you know, every game presents some different challenges, and you know, not every game is maybe the same amount of ice time. So I think most importantly, you know, eat and sleep as much as we can here. Richie's been great all year with getting us optional skates and getting us, you know, some time whenever we can. So we're not going to pace. Every game's our biggest game. You know, we're going to empty the tank every night, and hopefully at the end of that last 8 game, we're going to be in a spot that's, like I said, going to feel pretty good.
All right. Mark's got a nice long question for you here. He says, Derek, in the past couple of seasons when the Blue Jackets have a must-win scenario, the team plays better on the road than they do at home, excluding the last game last season. Is there increased pressure to play well at home, and do you think that it might affect the way that the team plays?
Well, first of all, is that true? I didn't know that. If that's the case, I'm sure it feels like there's been some opportunities at home.
I'd say, here's my thought. I'm just going to say this. You know, well, he's talking about must wins, but I know this year it seems like, and people have said that when there's a sellout situation, like the other night against the Penguins, play well, come up short. So maybe that kind of ties in the same way.
Yeah, I mean, you know, people may disagree, but I think, you know, between the Ranger game and the Pittsburgh game, which, you know, we wanted to win desperately, it didn't get the result, and I can completely understand where that question's coming from. You know, with that said, I thought we battled and played 2 pretty good games. I think, you know, that is the difference. I mean, it seems like Pittsburgh finds a way to win, and they did that again that night. The same with the Rangers. I mean, you know, great player in Derek Brassard, but certainly not one of his, you know, nicest goals he's ever scored. Kind of a tough break for us. So it's not something that you know, we're mentally thinking about. If it is the case, and we've won a few games on the road, I don't think it's a pressure thing, and certainly you know, we get as excited for a sellout crowd and for playing big games like that as the fans do, and we'd certainly like to come out in the first period and be up 4-0, but it's just the way it's so tough in this league to win games. You know, it doesn't matter if you're at home or away. You know, sometimes, not to make excuses, you know, we've traveled home and played that second game, you know, after some pretty difficult travel. But I mean, other than that, you know, it's just been a couple tough breaks.
All right, let me ask you this question. I talked with Todd Richards the other day when I was talking about, you know, kind of finding that spark, and he made the comment, this was before the Carolina game. He said, it seems like when there are games that are easy to get engaged in beforehand, and that the Detroit game was one, the Pittsburgh game was one, the Rangers game was certainly one, and then you have that game on Long Island against the Islanders, and that was a night of travel too. I get that, I understand that. But you know, he was talking about getting an emotional attachment against another opponent, easier to do against some teams than other teams. Now, in these 8 games in 12 days, there's going to be some teams in there that you don't necessarily have that emotional rivalry going right away, but these games are pretty much must win. So how do you attach that to a team that you normally wouldn't?
Well, you know, I think if you know, look over the past month and you look at the success we had, I think you know, it seems like on every night it starts or comes from somebody different. And you know, I think throughout these 8 games, I think we're, you know, as a group of 20, we're all physically and mentally may not be on the same level, and there might be nights where some guys feel it more than others. We're going to need all 20 guys in these 8 games, but I think this is a pretty tight-knit group of guys, and I think when guys can feel that or sense that maybe we don't have that emotional attachment, someone's always looking to step up and start that. Whether it's Matt Calvert or Nick Foligno or some of the guys who have done it recently, we understand that we need to get vested as quickly as possible. That's our game, and that's when we have the most success. So I think knowing how high the stakes are coming down the stretch, I'm excited to see who's going to be the guy that really steps up and gets us going every night.
All right, the next one comes from Cannon Goes Boone. I really don't think that's Boone doing that, but hey, you never know. It says, is this the most fun that you have had as part of the Blue Jackets? And I think before you answer that, people should realize how long you've been part of this organization. I mean, you've been here the last 2 years on a one-way deal, but you spent a number of years going back and forth between Syracuse and the Blue Jackets, so it's been a long time. Is this the most fun you're having?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no one likes to lose, and we did more losing than winning. In the first couple of years, I think this is my 7th season here with the organization, and winning is fun, and it's the ultimate fun. And I mean, although there's things that are fun along the way throughout seasons, I mean, when you're not winning, you almost have to look for a smile or get away from the game to enjoy yourselves a little bit. You're only human. I think these last couple of years it's been fun to come to the rink, and especially this year it's just been fun. I mean, every night is an opportunity for us to win. We feel like we have an opportunity to win. We've gotten the support from the fans. They've been great. We've gotten the support from right from the top, from the owner to the organization. Not that we've always had it, but I think everyone's come together here and tried to give us the best opportunity to win, and that's a lot of fun.
All right, next question is from Jennifer. It says, how has social media changed your position as an athlete? That's a pretty good question, because it's pretty hard to get away with anything nowadays. Not that you're doing something you're trying to get away with, but it seems like everybody knows every move you make. You can walk into a place and have dinner, somebody can send out a tweet, and 1,000 people can know you're there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, of all questions, this might be a quick one for me. You just kind of touched on it. I mean, you certainly are aware that everyone has a cell phone or everyone has a computer, and things can happen pretty quick. For me personally, I'm not a big guy into, I'm going to sound like outdated here, but between Twitter and Facebook and some of the other new things that are out here, with having 2 kids at the age that I have, there's not a whole lot of time when you get home to be on your cell phone, and that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, well, guess what? As those kids get older, they'll start teaching you about all that stuff.
I know. It's scary.
But hey, the good thing is when you don't know how to use your phone, just toss it over to a 10-year-old and they can fix it for you like that.
Yeah, my daughter's only 5 and she's getting around the iPad better than I am, so it's pretty scary.
See, absolutely. Won't take long. Amanda says, your line has gotten a lot of credit for what you bring to the game. What's the secret to all that energy?
Well, I think the obvious answer to that is we don't play as much as a lot of the other lines do, and I think that may seem like a little thing, but when you miss a shift or two, or there's a power play, or the other lines are rolling, you really get a chance to kind of top off the battery. And with that said, it's kind of in bold print at the top of our job description as one of the number one things is, bring energy every night. So
is it 1, 2, and 3 on your list?
Yeah. So there's not a whole lot of other things on our list. So if we don't have the energy, we don't have a whole lot going for us. But that is what kind of is our identity, and we enjoy doing it. And there's been a mix of different fourth line guys this year, but everyone that I've played with is happy to be there. It's not the most glorious job in the world, but I know the other 3 lines make us feel appreciated, and we try to chip in when we can, and I'll get back to that fun word. When we're rolling 4 lines and things are going well, it's a lot of fun.
Well, and I think that whoever gets put on that line with you and who's ever there, and it's been you and Mark Letestu most of the year, I think when you get put there, there are expectations. Those guys see you work all year long, and they know if they don't come out there and do it, it's as you said, it's a fourth line, but it's almost an honor to be put on that line in some ways because Todd Richards trusts you guys so much. You are going to get the maximum amount of ice time that you earn in a game. So if a guy's playing with you guys, he knows if he's responsible and does his job, he's going to get a chance to make an impact.
Yeah, I think there's times when I'll say we get fortunate. I mean, it may feel a little unfortunate for some guys to get kind of bumped down once in a while, but the one thing they can depend on is it's going to be a pretty simple game. It's going to, a lot of dumping and a lot of chasing, and I think sometimes, that in a way that's our game. It's I don't want to say it's easy, but it's it's a part of, it's expected by the fourth line. I think sometimes it's a good place to start when guys might be coming back from injury, or we've got so much depth on the team that we just randomly get a couple guys once in a while. So we always tease whoever gets paired on our line. He said, "Don't worry, we'll get you promoted, as quickly as possible." And more often than none, we'll take all the credit when they do get bumped back up. But no, like I say, we have a lot of fun down there. We like doing what we do, and it is nice to feel trusted, and it is nice to get the ice time we get. We appreciate every minute of it, and moving forward, with so many healthy guys, you just never know who's going to be there. So it certainly is keeping everyone on their toes.
I was thinking about you guys during the Carolina game the other night. There were no power plays the entire game. I know people are probably sitting at home going, when are they going to get a power play?
Yeah.
You guys are on the bench going, don't get any power plays. Let's just roll. Roll four lines, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's I can only, think about some times when I was in the minors, and I know sometimes power plays, especially for our skilled guys, get guys in the game. So not to go against what you're saying, but as much as that is kind of a selfish answer in a way, because we know that guys like Ryan Johansson and the Binskis and the Anisimovs and all these guys, they thrive on that power play. They're great on that power play. We need them to score goals on that power play. So and when it's 9 games left and you're fighting for a playoff spot, there is a bit of me saying, man, I hope we get a power play when it's 1-1 in Carolina. I don't mind watching these guys, especially Joe's been so great lately, and going in overtime. I'll sit back and watch him score all day long if that's what he wants to do.
All right, Derek, good answer. Andrew says, do you think that being in the playoff push last season helps the team this year? You guys know what it would take to make the push?
Yeah, I think it was pretty devastating last year not making it. I think we felt like we did enough to get in, and at the so we can certainly look back on that and realize that you're never in until you're officially in. With that said, it's a new season. It's a longer season. We really tried not to think about it too much. I mean, it's just there so much right now. Every time you turn on the Hockey Network or TSN, I mean, they're constantly trying to predict who's going to be in and who you're going to play. So getting back to playing so many games and so many nights, and every game being so important, I think the one thing that we're trying to do right now is take one game at a time.
All right. Next question comes from James. Who is the hardest player to play against in the league?
So many good players. I mean, I think it's kind of an obvious answer if you pick the cream of the crop out of the league. Obviously, we just seen a guy like Sidney Crosby. Look at a guy like Jonathan Taves. Personally, I haven't got a chance to play with those guys. I had a chance to play with Marian Hossa when he was in Atlanta, and I always go back to him. I think he's a very underrated player. He's so strong. I think he's stronger with one hand on his stick than I am with two. But I think I appreciate the way he plays because I used to watch him practice. I used to watch some of the things he did in practice, and it's not by coincidence. It's not by luck that he has the success he has on the ice. He's just a well-rounded player, and as someone like me trying to play defense against a guy who's as fast and stronger and smart, I mean, that's a pretty deadly combination. I think that's why he gets some of the results he gets.
All right. Mike wants to know, how do you feel about the game tomorrow against Colorado? What are the keys to winning the game for you guys?
Well, I mean, they're obviously a very highly skilled offensive team. I think I just read that maybe one of their best players probably won't be in tomorrow, but that's for us to make sure that we don't take we don't let off the gas or take anything lightly. I think they're a young, hungry team, and they have a lot of the same qualities that we do. I think getting back to it, and Richie always says that I think the will and the want will be there. I think for us, kind of channel our emotions and play a strong 60 minutes. I think this is a team that just thrives and capitalizes on turnovers and mistakes, and I think if we can limit them, then we'll be pretty good.
Have you been surprised at the turnaround that they've had there with that team? They had talent. They've always had talent there, but this year they kind of put it all together.
Yeah, I have been just a little bit, only because it's been such a dramatic turnaround. It's not, they didn't have a very good record last year, and they have a great record this year. And I think as you look at teams who come out of the gates the way you do, you based on their season before, you often wonder, can they keep it up? And the teams that do are usually, a pretty good sign that they're for real. They're a legit team, and I think Colorado's certainly, proven any critics wrong that they wouldn't, be able to keep that pace and that energy and that that high tempo game up. Their record speaks for themselves, so it's going to be a tough one for us.
All right. Frederick wants to know, what team did you root for growing up?
Oh man, I can tell you one thing. I didn't root for the Montreal Canadiens. Back home it's either you love them or you don't, and if you don't like Montreal, you usually love Toronto. I don't know why, probably because my dad wasn't a big fan of either team. My grandfather was a big Toronto fan. You watch the Maple Leafs every Saturday, or Hockey Night in Canada, you watch a Canadian team play. I think as I started to grow up and become a bigger fan, like a lot of people, I jumped on the bandwagon with the Detroit Red Wings. I was a big Steve Yzerman fan, and certainly they had a run there where they were pretty tough to beat for a long time. So I guess if I had to put a stamp on someone, it would be Detroit.
Oh, all right. Let's see. Next one says, you've been waiting for this one, I'll bet. You're the oldest guy on the team. How do you remind the younger ones that they don't know as much as they think they do? Any practical jokes that you like to play on the likes of Ryan Johansson or anybody else?
I kind of just answered this question earlier in the dressing room. I don't do much, I'll be honest with you. Ryan Johansson, Boone Jenner, these guys are far ahead of their years, and the way they play on the ice, I mean, they've done some things that I'll never do. They are young, and I think sometimes they may get a little frustrated. I think, sometimes maybe actions speak louder than words. I think getting back to the fourth line and just trying to play a consistent game and do it, night in and night out, hopefully is something that, maybe rubs off on some of the younger guys. But, I mean, when you watch those guys play, they're like men with boys. I mean, even in practice, I try to stay away from those guys so they're not embarrassing me too much. But no, you know what? We have a great young group of guys who come in, they put their head down, and they work hard every day. I'd love to say that I'm the prankster in the room, but to this point, there hasn't been too much that I've got on them.
All right. Alexis has the last question today. Favorite away NHL arena to play in?
Well, as much as I just dogged on the Montreal Canadiens, there is one thing that I could appreciate that.
I could see you going that way. I really could. And I know exactly why you're going there.
It's twofold. Obviously, the last game we played in there was awesome. Yeah. It was nice to beat them. It was nice to get on the scoreboard. It was fun in a lot of ways. But honestly, with all kidding aside, when you get to that rink, you can really, truly appreciate how much people love hockey there. Almost everyone is in their seat in warm-up. It's loud, it's energetic, it's sold out every night. They really do love their team, and whether or not I'm a fan of Montreal, you can certainly appreciate how much that city loves their team. So it's always exciting. The building's always full, and it's always a good game. I like going to Montreal.
All right. Before we go, I have one more question to ask, and I'm going to ask you a tough question. I'll just be honest with you, because I haven't asked you a tough question in 7 years in this organization.
So don't make me spell something.
No, we're not doing that. It's as simple as this. Right now, you're scheduled to be a free agent at the end of the year. You mentioned that you've spent a lot of years with this organization. How much would you like to remain a part of the Columbus Blue Jackets and stay a part of what's going on here and the transformation that's taking place?
Well, I always go back to, I've started something here and I'd love to finish it. And I've been a part of some tough times, and we're well on our way to, I think, a really bright future and hopefully a Stanley Cup. I'd love nothing more than to win a Stanley Cup as a Columbus Blue Jacket. I'm not getting any younger. I'd love to. My family loves it here. My kids love it here. It's really become home for us, and I just want to be a part of what's going to go on here, and whether that happens or not, I hope they have plans for me. It's something that I've tried not to think too much about. I mean, when you have kids at my age, it's certainly something that's always on the back of your mind. But I've tried to do my part here and tried to be a part of something bigger and better. And hopefully at the end of the day, that pays off. Time will only tell. But right now my focus is 8 games, and then hopefully at least 24 more or wherever it takes to win a Stanley Cup. So I think if it is a tough question, and once we get off the air I'll yell at you for it. No, but honestly, everyone's been so great to me here, and like I said before, this has been a fun time, and there's more fun times to come, and hopefully I'll be a part of it.
All right. Well, selfishly, I hope it works out too. It's been great to have around. I know the fans appreciate the hard work that you put in on a nightly basis. So that'll do it for today's Huntington Bank Live Chat. For Derek MacKenzie, I'm Bob McElligott. Thanks for the questions, and thanks for watching.